The high and the mighty will fall. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. We hope you are enjoying the holiday season, and I hope Santa was good to each and every one of you. Santa gave me a gift this year, a pre-recorded show that we're going to replay for you with a Christmas theme. A couple of weeks ago, I got a call from a fellow by the name of Rich Larson, who's a DJ down at KYMN Radio down in Northfield. He was playing Christmas music written by Minnesota artists, and he wanted to interview me about my song, Christmas at Molly's. It's a song I wrote many years ago about a legendary bar in Superior, Wisconsin called Molly's Bar that was run by a truly magical woman by the name of Molly. I tell the whole story about the bar, the history of the bar, the story behind the bar, and how I wrote the song. We had so much fun. I called Rich a few days ago. I said, would you mind if I just used our radio show that we did together for my radio show on Christmas weekend? And he said, go right ahead. So that's what we're going to do tonight. We're going to start off with the song Christmas at Molly's, and then you are going to hear the whole story, and I think it's one you're going to enjoy, especially if you ever had the good fortune of spending Christmas at Molly's.
All right, man. So yeah, Christmas at Molly's. What that it's a fantastic song, and I appreciate. I last year I was doing a for another show I do. I was doing a Minnesota-based Christmas music show, and kind of threw it out on Facebook, just crowdsourced. Hey, who knows really good music from Minnesota? And you were kind enough to say, hey, go check this song out. And I loved it, and I actually played it on my show last year. But this is another show that I do with a co-host, and we don't exactly break the songs down, but we take some time to talk about them a little bit and sort of tell, at least give our opinions, at least, or but if there's stories to tell behind the song, we like to do it. So I thought I'd just reach out and see if you might want to talk about it.
Oh, I'd love to.
Awesome.
What's your first question?
Well, could you please just sort of tell me the general story behind Christmas at Molly's?
Yes. Well, there was an amazing magical saloon in Superior, Wisconsin.
Uh-huh.
It was there for over, probably close to 60 years, called Molly's Bar.
Okay.
And I discovered it sometime in the mid-'80s when I was playing up in Duluth. Of course, Superior's bars closed hours an hour later.
Right.
So we would always, the bars would close in Duluth at 1, and then they closed in Superior at 2.
Mm-hmm.
So a friend of mine suggested, well, if you're still thirsty, Paul, let's go over to Molly's. Well, we went over to Molly's, which was the end of Tower Avenue,
mm-hmm.
The north end, downtown Superior. And it was like walking back into 1935.
Oh, really?
It still had some original metal advertisements for the Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Wow.
That had been saved.
Wow.
In there, and it had a beautiful old tile floor and one of those old, beautiful tin ceilings.
Uh-huh.
For those people that have spent some time in old saloons, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about.
I know exactly what you're talking
about. And the beautiful thing was, the queen of the place was named Molly.
Mm-hmm.
And she was still working. When I met her, she was in her mid-80s. And she would sit at the end of the bar and hold the court. And you'd go up, and I got to meet Molly. And you could buy her a really nice glass of expensive brandy. Now, expensive brandy in Superior back then was about $4,
right?
And she would dispense gypsy wisdom. She was a really, almost a mystic in a way.
Wow.
From another time. Her son, Oscar, helped her run the bar.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I didn't know for several years, and I went there every time I played in Duluth, and back then in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, I played in Duluth about every 3 months.
Sure.
And finally somebody said, do you realize that Molly's is a gay bar? And number one, that didn't bother me.
No,
Number two,
no.
I couldn't really tell because I was always really involved with the friend or friends I was with.
Yeah.
And it became, it was open to anybody, but it was one of the first gay bars in the Twin Ports when it opened in the early 50s.
Oh, that's interesting.
It was where a lot of the sailors
Right.
down low, that's where they could meet.
Right.
Men could meet other men, women could meet other women at Molly's Bar. And it was under the radar for years and years and years.
That's great.
In fact, years ago, I was reading this small town press book written by a sheriff who happened to be a cousin of Molly's about all of his experiences working as a sheriff in Douglas County. And he had a couple of paragraphs about Molly's Bar. And he said that's where sailors could go to eat, drink, and be merry. And he spelled Mary, M-A-R-Y. But it was welcome to all. So it just added another level of intrigue to the place for me.
Sure.
And Oscar, Molly's son, had a real great taste in antiques. So he had really kind of time dated the place with these old antiques, some that he was using, and then some that he would sell behind the bar. But the lighting was really magical. The setting was really magical. They had one pool table and a jukebox that actually Christmas at Molly's ended up on. So I was really enchanted with Molly and Molly's Bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
In about 1990, I'd gotten a phone call one day from the company that ran the Southdale Mall. Now, the Southdale Mall was the first open-air shopping mall in America. It opened in 1955 in Edina, Minnesota.
I grew up in Edina.
And so you know where Southdale was.
I grew up in Southdale.
Okay, well, there you go. That explains your misspent youth.
There it is.
But anyway, Rich, they called and said, we're putting together, it was their 35th anniversary, they were putting together a CD of original Christmas music by Minneapolis and Twin Cities musicians to give away during the holidays as a gift for coming into Southdale. So it was, I don't know, about 7 o'clock at night, 6 o'clock, maybe 5 o'clock. And they said, hey, would you have an original song for this? And I'm going, I kind of put my nose up. I go, you want something, Woody Guthrie would write? I'm the guy to call. Is Paul Metsa going to write a song for the Southdale Mall? I don't think so. I didn't say that.
Right.
What I said was I paused and I said, well, I'm not sure. I said, how much does it pay?
Yeah.
And they said, $2,500. I said, I think I've got one around here somewhere.
I'm sure I got something. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, Rich, it was, and what musician doesn't need money, right?
Right. Well, exactly.
Yeah. So I have song ideas. In fact, I'm finishing my second book, Alphabet Jazz.
Nice.
It's going to be a book of poetry and prose and stories. I just finished the last piece Friday night. And when I was putting that together, when I'm looking for songs, I have song ideas and titles and verses written on my phone bill, old letters, written on typewriter paper.
Like every good writer, man, just everywhere.
Everywhere you look. Back of matchbooks, and quite a few on bar napkins, some that I can read, some that I can't. So I looked, and I went through the stack of bar napkins, and sure enough, on one of these napkins, it said Christmas at Molly's. And I remember a few years before, I have a sister that lives in Duluth, and she would usually either host Thanksgiving or Christmas, where my family would gather. So one year, it was Christmas, and Molly's was open on Christmas, one of the few places that was.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of my friends, including a good friend of mine, John Hall, who passed away a year ago on the 4th of July, great, and his friend Dick Blinn, we all met down there and had this really magical Christmas night with Molly and the gang.
Nice.
And so I sat down. I started writing at, 10 o'clock at night, and I got the chords. Writing a song, any songwriter will tell you, either got a title or the first line and the chords or a melody. And I happened to have the chords, and the chorus came pretty quick. Past the malt and the mistletoe, it's almost Christmas Day. So one thing led to another, and I put together this 12-verse, my Paul Metsa story of Christmas, as I envisioned it that night, Christmas Eve at Molly's Bar.
Yeah.
And at about 9 o'clock in the morning, I'd stayed up all night. I had it done, and I was on my own to get a tape. They needed a recorded copy.
Mm-hmm.
So I called a buddy of mine named Charles Erickson, who had a studio right downtown Minneapolis. I called up a bass player named Joel Sales, and we went in and we cut the track, and Joel gave a really nice high harmony to it.
Yeah.
And then I said, Charles, just mix it, and I'll have somebody from Southdale come and pick it up on a CD later this afternoon. Well, then, unbeknownst to me, Charles, who's now kind of a worldwide DJ, he's really into electronic dance music.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a different handle, but back then he was just Charlie with the studio. He put a really nice 12-string part with a capo, and which is really a charming part. So anyway, it came out in 1990 on the Southdale record. There's still some copies floating around, and it's a good record. I think Greg Brown has a song on there.
Really?
The Steele family has a song.
Wow.
Peter Strusko might even have a song on there.
Wow, really?
Kind of a classic record, but that's how Christmas at Molly's came about.
That's great. Well,
more to my interview I did a couple of weeks ago about the genesis of the song Christmas at Molly's. And we'd like to give special thanks to our sponsor, School of Rock, Eden Prairie.
Of December is a stranger I walk like I just lost the keys to this city. As a sailor I've sent postcards round the world, but the picture tonight wasn't pretty. I walked in the shadows of haunted hotels like a miner trapped in a cavern. Well, I looked to the east and a star it shone down, and it led me right to Molly's Tavern. So I followed the footprints made in the snow by Salvation Army musicians. I got in line and I stood right behind a tap dancer and two blind magicians. You would have thought I had been there before as Molly stood there to greet me. 80 years old with a gleam in her eye, said you're expected and proceeded to seat me. Come on, ye low down rounders, lift up your low down ways. Pass the malt and the mistletoe, it's almost Christmas Day.
Wall of Power Radio Hour.
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metsa. More to my interview I did a couple of weeks ago about the genesis of the song Christmas at Molly's. And we'd like to give special thanks to our sponsor, School of Rock, Eden Prairie.
there's such great imagery in that in that song, and great, some characters too. Like, what's the thing about the Two Blind Magicians.
Yeah, well, they were standing in line. Oh God, I only sing that song at Christmas, and it's
Right.
not quite there. I walked in line and I stood right behind a tap dancer and
Two blind musicians.
magicians.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about this sailor that gets off a ship, and it's Christmas Eve, and that port has ships from all over the world.
Yep.
And so you just imagine this sailor on Christmas Eve with nowhere to go, and he looks into the sky like the Star of Bethlehem, and he ends up at Molly's bar.
I love that. I looked east in the star, and that led me to Molly's Tavern. That's just wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's I'm a bartender in my free time, so
Yeah.
I love the thing about the bartender reading F. Scott Fitzgerald too.
Yeah, right. Well, I have to name drop here for a bit.
Yeah, please.
My good friend David Carr, who passed away about 3 years ago,
Yeah.
was a journalist and
Yeah.
writer in Minneapolis,
Yeah.
and then went out, and for the last 10 years before he passed, he was the media journalist for the New York Times.
Guy's a legend.
Yeah, when he passed, Arnold Schulzenberger, the publisher of the New York Times, said Carr might have been one of the most gifted journalists that the New York Times ever had, which is pretty strong praise.
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, I wrote a book 10 years ago called Blue Guitar Highway. You can get it on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And David Carr wrote the foreword, and he said of all of my catalog, he goes, all of Mess's songs, the one he loves the most is Christmas at Molly's.
That's
And
great.
they would play it every year. But yeah, it was really just serendipitous, and it honors Molly. She was actually, of course, born on Valentine's Day.
Of course she was.
Yeah, of course she was. She lived to be 100 years old.
God bless her. That's great.
Her sister was a jazz singer, and who hooked up with the mob. She used to sing at mob joints in New York.
Wow.
I always wanted to meet her. She didn't. I was during this downtime when I'm not playing out live. I've been going to the archives, of which I have quite a bit of stuff to position some more releases. And someone sent me a CD years ago of Molly in the studio. So I have about a CD with about 4 or 5 songs that Molly herself sang.
Oh, no kidding.
So, Rich, if I ever get down to Northfield, one of my favorite towns in Minnesota, I'll bring that with me, and we can talk more about Molly. You can also find that, if people would like to see the video.
Yeah.
I did a video I have a TV show up here called Wall of Power TV.
Yep.
It's actually, it was just on. I'll be on again at 11:30. You can stream it at mcn6.org.
Okay.
And my producer, Andy Watson, put together a really great video with some vintage photos of Superior, Wisconsin, along with a lot of great photos of Molly. So if you want to see what Molly looked like over the course of about 40 or 50 years, you can watch it on YouTube.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to go look into that. Absolutely. So, how are you getting on through the pandemic here, sir? I mean, obviously, you like every other musician in the world. There's not a whole lot of opportunity to play live. It sounds like you took some time to write a book, and you've got your radio show, and you've got your TV show.
Yeah, I just re-released a record
Yes.
that I recorded in 1992 called Whistling Past the Graveyard.
A classic.
It with Bucky Baxter, who was playing with Bob Dylan at the time.
Yeah.
He owned a studio with Gary Talent, Bruce Springsteen's longtime bass player in the E Street Band.
Yeah.
And we brought in George Marinelli, who was playing with Bruce Hornsby in the Range at the time.
Wow.
And we recorded 11 songs, and it had a lot of real political stuff that I think is more in tune with the times now politically than actually it was in 92. So I decided to re-release it. I put 6 bonus tracks on there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and that's now available. And so I worked on that. People can ordered at paulmetza.com. And, I'm working on this book for about the last year. I've done a couple of live streams. I have a weekly radio show that I've been doing. I tape interviews, new interviews every week. If people go to paulmetza.com, they can track all the stuff down. But that airs on AM 950. So I've had about 6.5 years on the radio and about 3.5 years on the TV. So what I'm looking to do right now is find some other markets to syndicate both my radio and television show.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll start, and then I'm setting up my living room to do Zoom interviews for both of those shows.
Nice.
And but I'm sitting on a real kind of treasure trove of performances and recordings with my old band Cats and the Stars.
Nice.
With my harmonica player I've been playing with since '97.
Yep.
Sonny Earl, we're working on a Paul and Sonny do Sonny and Brownie, a tribute to Sonny Terry and Brownie McGee.
Sure.
And I've got about 25 new songs. I'm looking to go in and record that probably in January. And then I've got a record that I've had in the can with a guy named Big J McNeely, who was one of the original tenor sax honkers. He had his first hit in 1949.
Oh, nice.
Called Deep in Top. Yeah, Elvis was a fan of him.
Wow.
And so we went into the studio about 9 years ago, and we cut several tunes of mine, several tunes of his. We also did a dynamite version of Bob Dylan's Blind Willie McTell with Big J singing.
Nice.
So I've got, in a way, I miss playing for people, but I've got my guitar set up in my living room. I play every day.
Of course you
I'm
do.
starting to practice the guitar again. And I'm writing songs. So, strangely enough, I'm feeling like really productive right now.
That's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that, Paul.
I miss the audience. I miss my fellow musicians. I'm in touch with them on the phone. And
Sure.
But, and who knows what the new normal is going to look like.
Right.
I think I'm officially retired from playing clubs, per se.
Oh, is that right?
If we can find a socially distanced concert halls, whether for 20 or 200 or 2,000, I'll go back out and play, but I'm not in a hurry to get out in the club and deal with this skull arches and the blood buckets stage to front row of, high tops.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about there. Yeah. The bar where I work, I book all the music there, and
what bar is it?
Well, it's Imminent Brewing, right in downtown downtown Northfield.
Okay.
And I get people asking me all the time, so what's the plan? Are you gonna bring back are you starting to book for the summer? And I just, what, we will probably be the last place in Northfield that brings back live music, because we're just trying to be really safe about it, and I've got owners that are really responsible people, and we you take this thing seriously. It's important. So to hear someone like you say, I'm not in any big hurry to get back out there, I really respect that, man.
Well, and I have a lot of musicians my age that are of the same mindset.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I think the upside is, because when I'm out and about, when people recognize me in my mask, or I recognize them in the grocery store, wherever, that's my dog. Yes, she'll go out to blue. I can really feel a hunger for live music.
Oh yeah.
And I think truthfully, people are going to take it more seriously now. We've been, and I'm as guilty as anybody else, we've all taken, especially in Minneapolis, we've taken live music so for granted.
Yep.
Because you could go out any night of the week and hear any style of music you wanted to hear.
And quality stuff, too.
Night.
Yeah.
And 7 nights a week. And you just go, and most of them for no cover. So I hope what it does is people realize how important music is in all of our lives, and feel free. It's worth something.
Yeah.
So because the bars you work at, the other clubs, they're not going to be, to capacity.
Right.
Everything's going to be socially distanced. So everybody's going to have to pay a little more for the privilege of going to hear some great live music. And it's worth it.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, it's interesting.
Coffee, pay $4 to go hear your favorite band.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, we I'm talking to some people here and there who really are itching to play, and we had the patio open for the summer, and some people wanted to come and play on the patio, and I just said, we got to pay you, and we can't have enough people here to support the amount that we would need to pay you. And they said, well, no, I'll play for whatever, and I'm saying, no, you don't understand. You need to get paid X amount,
right.
and we have to respect that. We have to respect that market. So it's
Does my buddy Eric Koskinen play at your place?
You know what, man? I'm such a huge fan of his. I booked him into a place I used to book in Faribault years ago, and it went so poorly for him that I have just never.
Was it at Uncle Charlie's?
Say that again.
Was it at Uncle Charlie's?
No, it was a place called Pub 31. It was open and closed in about a year.
Yeah.
And now I haven't actually
terrible name for the saloon.
Yeah, Uncle Charlie's. That's great.
Yeah, I bumped in. I sat behind Eric and his wife at the Bob Dylan show in October 2019 in Mankato.
Yeah.
More to my interview I did a couple of weeks ago about the genesis of the song Christmas at Molly's. And we'd like to give special thanks to our sponsor, School of Rock, Eden Prairie.
Hey everyone, you know what's just around the corner? The holidays. And you know what that means? You have to find the perfect gift for curious kids, hard to buy for teens, and baby boomers that already have everything they could possibly need. Would you believe there's one gift that will delight all three? Yep, music lessons at School of Rock. Lessons in guitar, bass, drums, keys, or vocals make a fantastic holiday gift. Lessons are available in person or online, so you can even give the gift of music to the out-of-towners on your shopping list. For AM 950 listeners, we're giving a 5th lesson free for every 4 lessons you buy. Just mention you heard us on AM 950. And if you would like to learn an instrument, give us a call. Your first lesson's on us. Yes, I mean totally free, no strings attached. Check us out at edenprairie.schoolofrock.com or click on the link on am950radio.com.
Welcome back to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metza. More to my interview I did a couple of weeks ago about the genesis of the song Christmas at Molly's. And we'd like to give special thanks to our sponsor, School of Rock, Eden Prairie.
He's great. He's fantastic. I haven't talked to Eric in a long time, mostly because of that show. But I'm a huge fan, man. Huge fan of his.
A good friend of mine lives in Northfield. His name's Todd Orland. Todd was the editor and was the guy that got me my book deal with the University of Minnesota Press.
Oh, really?
And fellow Finn, yeah. I mean, I think it was the Finnish Mafia actually that got me the book deal.
That's great.
But so I have another reason to go down to Northfield other than to visit your radio station, play at your bar. I'd love to go see my buddy Todd and his lovely wife. He's a home brewer and really good happening Suomalainen.
We will absolutely have to find a way to get you down here. I have to tell you, Paul, that I've had, just as a promoter and a music whatever, there's the Northfield Arts Guild has a room that seats about not quite 100 people, and I have always forever wanted to do a concert series in there that really would be something akin to remember the old VH1 Storytellers show where and the first person I've always thought that I'd want to start that series would be you. Like, I think
I'm honored that you'd say that.
I just think it would be perfect. So if I ever get my stuff together and get that going, you're going to be my first phone call because I think you'd just be phenomenal in that kind of setting.
Thank you, Rich. I also have a new, I rewrote my song Slow Justice that I originally wrote in 94, added another verse in 1990, rewrote it. It's called Slow Justice 20.
You played it at the end of your show tonight. or heard a little bit of it tonight at the end of your
Yeah.
show, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yes, new verse to kind of bring in the vibe of the whole tragedy of the George Floyd murder.
Yeah.
That's on YouTube now. And but my other project, and please tell all your folks in Northfield Radioland and your DJs, a couple days after John Prine died, I said to myself, there's no one that deserves a United States Postal Service commemorative stamp more than the
John Prine.
John Prine.
Right.
So I started a website called johnprinestamp.com.
Oh, I'm all in on that.
And we've got 2,000 signatures so far. Once we get 10,000, we're going to present it to the USPS.
Fantastic.
And then it takes about 3 years
Yeah.
to get a stamp, but there's no one more deserving than John Prine.
Absolutely. Oh my God! And a guy as humble as John Prine, I can't even imagine how he would have reacted to something like that. That just that gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. That's fantastic.
Well, it's like a song. When I get to heaven, he'll be sitting there drinking his. I think he had what was this thing? Vodka and ginger ale.
Yep.
And smoking a cigarette 9
miles long. Right, exactly. I got a buddy that just every now and then we just look at each other and say, when you're dead, you're a dead peckerhead. That's
exactly. No, it was such a tough year for musicians. And then last month we lose Billy Joe Shaver and Jerry Jeff Walker in the same week.
Man.
Come on.
It's been brutal. It's just been brutal. Yeah. Well, listen, Paul, I thank you for taking some time tonight, especially on short notice like this. I'm truly honored that you would give me a half an hour. This is really great. Thank you.
No, I really appreciate it. It's these basic communications. What I found during the lockdown, the pandemic. I'll have socially distanced fire a friend or two over on my backyard, visit friends, socially distance their backyard. And just the things that we always used to do before the internet, before emails, we used to chat.
Yeah.
We used to converse. We used to write letters. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to get my Christmas card together. When I had dog Blackie for years, he used to write Christmas letters. This year, my new dog, Blue, who I got a year ago next weekend in 2017, they found him on the side of a road in Alabama.
Wow.
Right next to me now. His name's Blue.
Yeah.
His full name is Blue Guitar Highway 61.
Nice.
That's, and he's writing the Christmas card this year. So
awesome.
Yeah, but anyway, so these basic, just the basic beauty of person-to-person, communication, conversation, letters, or phone calls. It's really important, and I think that's one of the upsides of this whole time.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for it. I mean, and like you were saying before, I mean, when this is over, there's a lot that we've taken for granted that I hope that we've learned to appreciate a little more. And these interpersonal relationships, man. I mean, that's top of the list.
Top of the list, and my fear is even with the vaccine, we still have 35% of this country is anti-vaxxers. But somebody said the other day, everybody's going to go, what's in the vaccine? I'm not sure if I'm going to take it. And this guy said, well, when's the last time you said, what's in this Pop-Tart before you bite into it?
Exactly. Exactly. That's a great point, too.
Yeah, and the Pop-Tart's not going to save your life.
Right.
Or the vaccine probably.
You won't get the shot, but you'll eat a Twinkie. Yeah, the logic fails me.
I so enjoyed speaking with you, and I look forward. It's been years since I got down to Northfield. Now, did the Archer House have a fire?
Oh man, our studio is right next door to the Archer House, and so I covered the whole thing, and it is so, Paul. It is so depressing. It is so sad because, as a town, we love the Archer House so much. We're so proud down here of our downtown, and the Archer House is the keystone to that. And it's bad, Paul. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be able to come back. I mean, the exterior is still standing and everything, but inside, the building's 150 years old, and it's pretty much the original frame. And the fire got into the walls, which is why it ran out of control the way it did. And it's not good, man. It's so sad.
Hey, do you have time for one more little Northfield story?
Absolutely. I got all the time in the world, man.
Okay, Rich. So there's a fellow by the name of Johnny Wester.
Okay.
He lives in Arizona now.
Yes.
Scottsdale. He just turned 86 at the end of October. I had him on my radio show. If people go to am950radio.com, they can go and find my podcast at Wall of Power Radio Hour. And I interviewed him about a month ago. Johnny was originally, his name is Johnny Westerland.
Mm-hmm.
He was born in Two Harbors, Minnesota in 1934.
Okay.
He grew up in a CC camp, which is Civilian Corps, which they, started put people to work after the Depression. Built trails, highways, whatever, happened all over the country. In this case, it was north of Two Harbors. And they used to bring in a screen and show cowboy movies, among other things.
Yeah.
When Johnny was just a young boy, 6 or 7, he used to watch these Gene Autry movies. Gene Autry, of course, singing cowboy.
Yeah, yeah.
And he goes, that's what I want to do. I want to become a singing cowboy. His family moved down to Northfield.
Right.
His dad became a Phi Ed teacher. When Johnny was 17, he had a TV show that they broadcast out of Faribault, and in a radio show that they broadcast out of WCAL.
Interesting.
He recorded 3 singles, and he used to play at grocery store openings, car store openings, wrestling matches.
Sure.
And he was a very popular guy, and he had changed his name to Johnny Western. When he was 20, he moved out to Hollywood.
Yeah.
He ended up tracking down Gene Autry. Gene Autry signed him to become an extra in cowboy movies. One thing led to another.
Yeah.
And he started playing with Johnny Cash. He played in Johnny's band from 1956 to 1965.
I didn't know
He recorded
that.
on 70 Johnny Cash singles.
Wow.
Johnny Cash wrote liner notes for one of his Gunfighter ballad LPs. He was signed to Columbia Records by Don Law. Don Law was the guy that recorded Robert Johnson at the Winter Hotel in San Antonio in 1936.
Yeah.
Which it gets better. Johnny ends up as an extra on, if you're old enough to remember, Have Gun Will Travel.
Well, I'm not, but I know the show. Yeah.
It's a television show. It's the second most popular cowboy TV show behind Gunsmoke. In the 60s. Well, Johnny, if you ever go back, I'm sure you can find episodes on YouTube. Johnny wrote and recorded the theme song, which is called The Ballad of Paladin.
Wow.
And anyway, he just had an incredible career. Then he ended up in Kansas, and he had a radio show for 25 years. But he has gone back to Northfield, probably now not for a while.
Yeah.
And they would feature him during Jesse James days.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry.
He speaks so lovingly of Northfield.
Well, he is not forgotten in Northfield. I mean, people still talk about it. The interesting thing, though, is that I didn't know he was still with us. I guess I had thought he had passed away.
He is sharp as a tack.
Wow.
More to my interview I did a couple of weeks ago about the genesis of the song Christmas at Molly's. And we'd like to give special thanks to our sponsor, School of Rock, Eden Prairie.
Hey everyone, you know what's just around the corner? The holidays. And you know what that means? You have to find the perfect gift for curious kids, hard-to-buy for teens, and baby boomers that already have everything they could possibly need. Would you believe there's one gift that will delight all three? Yep, music lessons at School of Rock. Lessons in guitar, bass, drums, keys, or vocals make a fantastic holiday gift. Lessons are available in person or online, so you can even give the gift of music to the out-of-towners on your shopping list. For AM 950 listeners, we're giving a 5th lesson free for every 4 lessons you buy. Just mention you heard us on AM 950. And if you would like to learn an instrument, give us a call. Your first lesson's on us. Yes, I mean totally free. No strings attached. Check us out at EdenPrairie.schoolofrock.com or click on the link on am950radio.com.
Wall of Power Radio Hour.
Welcome back to the last set of the Wall of Power Radio Hour. This is your host, Paul Metz. I hope everybody's been enjoying the holidays. Here's the last part of my interview with Rich Larson from KYMN Radio in Northfield.
We're gonna have to look him up and somehow get him on this radio station at some point, I think.
You know, or we could I could send you the interview. You could play my interview with him. It's all ready to talk.
Absolutely.
But I don't want to take time away from you, Rich. But
no.
But no, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. It's Saturday night, Thanksgiving weekend, and there's a lot to be thankful for.
Amen, brother. There really is, isn't there?
Absolutely.
You know. I mean, it's been a really rough year, but there's plenty of. I was just talking about this on my show on Thursday night. Actually, I have seen some. I mean, and we've all seen some pretty rough Thanksgivings from time to time, and there are plenty of people out there who are seeing a really, really rough one right now.
250,000 families.
250. I mean, think about that, Paul. The estimate is that the number might be 400,000 by the end of the year. It's just it is so awful. It is so sad, and it's but despite all that, I mean, there's still, you have to reach down, you have to dig down and find those things.
Yeah.
That you are thankful for, because that's the touchstone, right? That's where you find the optimism that you need to keep going, isn't it? I mean, that's what you have to do.
Right before the lockdown started, I was singing these songs. They just kind of come to me, and I had right before the lockdown started, I read a line somewhere. I'm sure couldn't even tell you where it came from, but it said, "You can't be brave if you're not scared."
Yes.
So I wrote this song in about 15 minutes. It's one of the bonus tracks on my new record, and Whistling Past the Graveyard. You can also find it on YouTube.
Okay.
So I got into a buddy of mine named Rob Hillstrom. He plays with a bunch of guys in town, but I got into his studio thinking we better record this before they shut everything down, and re-recorded that. But I think what you're going to find, I'm sure there's guys like Eric Koskinen and a ton of musicians that are out there creating great new work right now.
Right.
So by the time we can get out and play again, and the audience is ready to come out, and the musicians are ready to go out and play, I think there's going to be a plethora of great new music to be heard. So I think really there's some really great, beautiful, better days ahead.
I couldn't agree with you more. And that's a beautiful thought, man. Thank you. That's great.
Well, I better take my dog for a walk before he disbands me.
He sounds a little impatient, brother.
He's a little impatient. He's a head case, but I love him to death.
Oh, well, of course you do. He's a dog.
He's a dog.
Dogs are the best.
A dog is, we know what dog is if you spell it backwards.
Exactly. Right there. Dog is love.
A real pleasure, man. You have a great holiday. People want to order my record. My book won't be out till probably January, February, but they can pre-order. They could just tag me on paulmetza.com. They can put a form in and shoot me their email. I'll get back to them. So
Cool. Hey, Paul, thanks a ton, man. This has been fantastic. I really appreciate it.
It has been. You made my night, brother. Have a beautiful weekend, and I'll look forward to meeting you in person one of these days.
I'm looking forward to that, too. Happy holidays to you, sir.
Thanks, brother.
Take care.
Yeah, go.
We'll see you.
Okay, we're going.
Thanks for listening to the Wall of Power Radio Hour. The show is produced by Paul Metza with help from some folks down at KYMN Radio. The host down there interviewing me was Rich Larson. We'd like to thank him for letting us use this. Also, thanks to Brett Johnson for putting it together here at AM 950. We'd like to thank our sponsor, School of Rock, Eden Prairie. Have a wonderful rest of the holiday season. We'll see you next week. And like my dad used to tell me, remember to be kind and make someone happy.
Someday the high